Hello everyone. I'm very pleased to be here. Just want to say it's absolutely amazing the work that you did, that we can see around here. Thank you platform for having us here. My name is Tomas Kozelsky and I'm a co-founder of architecture studio KOGAA. We're from Czech Republic. We're placed in Brno. We are partially also placed in Prague, in our capital. And today I'm not going to talk about one project. I'm going to take you a little bit through our tooling and introduce you to our take on the new together. So let's start with the numbers, right? We always need analysis. We're architects. Our main topic is adaptive reuse. I mean, we started it as a thing that we knew is going to be quite important actually to deal with because of the sustainable wave we're like finding ourselves right now. Czech Republic has a long history of industrial production, therefore we have plenty of buildings that are underused, they are vacant and now waiting for a new function. And actually in the 2020 to 2022, we found out that 60% of all the commissions coming into our office are actually adaptive reuse topic. That actually means over 1 million of square meters of a floor area that we're dealing with, and 80% of that is actually happening all in one city, in the city of Brno, which is 400,000 inhabitants. So you understand how important this topic is and how big demand there is. So today I'm going to be looking only at this topic where we kind of understand ourselves as being proficient in, and I'm going to take you through our three main perspectives that we are always looking at when we're working on every project. These are spaces, people, and cities. I'll start with the spaces. We're architects, deal with the space. It's our main tool that we're working with. When you're working with the old buildings, and we are taking in consideration the topic together, the new together, we were trying to a little bit analyze what is actually always a common attribute, the element of what we are doing with the historical buildings. And it's always like stripping. We are always looking for this operational slash constructional matrix, the essence of the building, but we're removing all the partitions. The partitions are like becoming the layer that was kind of like developed a little bit later. It was significant for one user, but actually we're trying to create a flexible space which can intake the new user. We passed through the period of COVID. We all know how much it affected like the office spaces, and that was our take on retrofit of primary laboratories. Now it's supposed to work as the headquarters of South Moravian Innovation Region, which is the region that the city where we are placed is in. And we were dealing here with like, hey, maintain the flexibility that you are designing all the time. Sorry. But on the other hand, like try to kind of tackle the problematics that the pandemics bring in. So we're like trying to kind of define these like liquid spaces running through and finding a way that how people can communicate, but still stay a little bit away from each other, but visually keep the openness. The last one, this is a grounds. It's in Prague. It's a coffee hub, which means that it's not just espresso bar. It's not just a roastery. It's actually production. The guys are also like repairing the machines. They are bringing coffee machines into Czech Republic, but they are also teaching the best baristas in the country and making them ready for competitions. There is offices. There is plenty of spaces, but it's a space which is not that huge, but it kind of contains several different main operations, and yet we applied only doors into the toilets. We managed to create a space that is a spiral, and while you're passing through this kind of like a semi-corridor but also semi-productional space, you are coming to the core, which is like less approachable for people. On the other hand, you can distribute all the spaces around. You have perfect kind of surveillance. That was just a few topics about spaces. Now we come to people. We deal with people in essence of community. We understand users, operators, residents, transients, whatever person is related with the building we're building. That's the part of the community. And we learned that a lot of our projects are creating this kind of like a wave of slow acceptance and this kind of revolt against the change. It's normal. I'm pretty sure that each of you as an architect experienced that, especially if you are like working in this kind of really public realm, and people are able to revolt against anything. So we created this this kind of tool of ours, which we call the phase 0, and we're trying to turn or change the mind of our clients and start doing the change immediately the day after we get the assignment. It doesn't matter if it's a private or a public assignment commission. Here what you can see, this is like the heat plant of a huge army factory, which is going to be now redeveloped into a residential development. And this is a project that we're working on currently. We just handed in the documentation for building permission, but this is how it looked like last summer. We pushed the client into actually creating this super tiny space in front of it and putting on top of it this kind of letter saying heart. We created concept. We're saying, hey, it was a heat plant. It has the heat. Now we add the R. It's a heart of the new development. And you can put there art. You can put there a food market and can turn into eat. You can make there a concert. It can become a here. Here is a huge train, railroad track. And whenever we are passing, whatever is happening here, these letters are shining. And we are already teaching the people to accept the change that from something that was a factory and there was working thousands of people, so everybody has a relation with that factory, it's suddenly going to become a new cultural center for all the area. And we are encountering a great acceptance of the project, which normally is being a problematic in our environment. We learned the hard way. We were doing a project data district, which you can actually find here on the display, but it was a Baugruppe experience. Did any of you architects work with the Baugruppe, the association of the future owners of the units? Any hand? Anybody? No? It's basically you're dealing with all the future people or people who are going to be in the future living in this building at the same time. Thanks to cutting off all the middlemen as a developer, real estate agency, and so on, they are cutting down the costs. In this case, we actually managed to cut the cost by 50%. And I would say it was just because we didn't charge them for the therapy we needed, because like at the same time, you're dealing with 20 clients and it was getting really crazy. That's why we realized we cannot afford like going in this way, and we start working through this phase 0. And the last thing, it's the cities. When we speak about the cities, I'm not speaking about this kind of like a urban limits designing. I'm speaking about cities from the point of view of the soft essence, of this quality of life elements. This is a project we did for a region / city / local university. There was like 3 different clients coming into it. And we were turning this building on the left side, what you can see, old faculty of applied arts. It was like in a really bad state, and we're turning it into creative cluster. And we knew that we have a public realm in our hands. The clients were covering everything, so we're like really trying to push in every moment. We're like, guys, okay, we spend the money, but like, what if we do a little parklet in front of it, taking 2 parking places? Let's put there these little thing there, and in the back, hey, let's put there also like a parking for bikes. Maybe in a few years we're going to manage to create a bike lane leading to that. And thanks to every little small finger we put into the doors, all the changes are happening. It's taking a time, but we never closed this project, and we are still continuing in it, even though 3 years ago it officially opened. This is one of our first projects we did. It was a massive plan for creating a connection, 27 seconds, connection between two huge business parks. And we design it, we show it to a potential client, to the owner of this business district. He said, I'm going to pay for it. The city said, we are not going to permit it. And so the only thing we did was actually creating this intervention in this like spot where was the only problem for the bikes to pass over the railway. We did it in night with the black hoodies, but we were like, hey, actually we're going to improve our city a lot. And it happened. And we try to also take on the public spaces, this kind of like urban voids. So we created this kind of transportable pavilion, which already flew around the world. We had it in almost more than 10 locations. And here is one more kind of like a project where we're like trying to find a way how to connect what we were designing around. It was like old sugar factory, and the center part of the factory was like heavily contaminated from the previous raffination. But we actually did it together with a Schelander Hebe Swedish studio and open fabric landscape architects who actually help us to find a solution through greenery that was actually helping to suck out the contamination and therefore turning this kind of like totally vacant, destroyed land into a park that managed to help this kind of crescent of houses. So my final conclusion, what I wanted to say is actually after like trying to kind of focus on what is the new together and looking at what we are doing, we are constantly not trying only to connect, but to create opportunity to interact. But this is nothing new. It's the old together. But we are just happy, and it's so refreshing to find out that what you were trying to do in the past few years, you can still continue to do it in the future. Thank you for your time, and sorry for going over.